Time.
The park in Texas. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Byrne? Mrs. Cerrucci?
Here.
Mr. Lapsovich?
Here.
Mr. Nola?
Here.
Mr. O'Donnell?
Here.
Mr. Ritter?
Chavez here, yes.
Mr. Stubenborg?
Here.
Hey guys, quiet down, man, we're on the phone.
I'm here.
Mrs. Warning? Here. Mr. Williams?
Here. Comments from residents on agenda items? Jan, we have anybody signed up?
We have a special presentation tonight.
We had a very special presentation tonight from one of our instructors and a few of our students who have joined us this evening. I'm going to defer to Mrs. Warning to do a quick introduction.
Yes, I would like to introduce Mr. Kunkel, a fifth grade teacher here at Mosside Middle School, and two students, Lindsay Story and Abby Seach. Is that correct, saying your last name? Okay, they had some presentations which they are state qualifiers for, and I'm going to turn this over now to Mr. Kunkel.
Let me just give you a little background. I'll be brief. Thank you so much for taking your time. These girls, this is 2 years in the making what they have done. You can only compete in the computer fair as a 6th through 8th grader, and in 5th grade they knew that they wanted to do this, so they started last year preparing for this. What this is this is the Pennsylvania Middle School Computer Fair. It contains 5 categories, some of which coding, animation, app design. They presented for the graphic design category, which is usually one of the more popular categories that's picked. Now, just a reminder that they are competing with 6th to 8th graders, so that they are on the younger end of the grade spectrum. And they just worked so hard on this, and you're gonna see Mr. Yulowitz provides them. He's our computer teacher at Mosside Middle. He provides them with so many tools that they can use, and this is just an example of what they can do when they use those tools. So I will turn it over to them.
Hello, I'm Lindsay Story. And I'm Abigail Seth. We are both in 6th grade at Mosside Middle School. Last month, we went to the Heinz History Center to compete in the annual computer fair competition with our graphic design project, Petopia.
We worked on Petopia for several months in tag classes and in computer club after school, helped by Mr. Kunkel and Mr. Wilson.
We chose graphic design because Abby and I have always been creating little businesses since we were young. Now that we are in middle school, we have opportunities to display our passion.
Once we picked graphic design, we were given a specific topic of a pet-related business. We then brainstormed names that reflected our idea that our business was going to represent. That was when we came up with the name Petopia.
We worked on Petopia for several months. During those months, we experimented with computer design programs such as Adobe Illustrator, Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Photoshop, and we even took some of our own photos using a digital camera to add authenticity.
On the computer design programs, we created flyers, brochures, business cards, and certificates, and even our logo. We also created products to bring our ideas to life. With hard work, our board finally pulled together.
Soon enough, the competition rolled around. At the competition, there were a lot of good projects, but when we set up our project and saw it, we knew that we had put in the work to get a good outcome. When they called first place and Petopia was announced, we knew our hard work had paid off.
It is a privilege to go to state finals and represent Gateway, especially because we are the first Gateway students to win first place, and this is our first year participating in this competition.
We hope that our experience helps us with our future career choices. I know it will help me because I want to be an executive at the Coca-Cola Incorporated. I want to work for business marketing at Penn State.
I have not yet decided my career, but I have learned a lot through this process, that if you work through the obstacles and take opportunities, you will succeed.
So our board, we have created flyers, we have created many things that Petopia represents. We have an app here. We also have our brochure that we worked on for a long time. And we have different events that we kind of created to go along with it, and they're set up here on a calendar.
We wanted to keep our logo simple, and we didn't really want a complex logo, because that would be hard if this was a real business to put on buildings. So we kept it simple. And we've worked a lot on the flyers. They have pull-off tabs, and they have our logo on everything. And we've even created a location and
Fake phone numbers and stuff.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed our presentation. Do you have any questions?
And just one follow-up, and then I'll be done. This was open to our entire building, and we had 20 kids participate. We did have another group receive second, and 2 of our projects received third place at this competition. So it was a nice showing on Gateway, and they made everybody in the community proud. It was good work.
That pet isn't alive, is it?
I was about to ask.
Thank you. Thanks, girls. I appreciate you coming this evening and showing us your work. Mr. Kunkel,
Congratulations.
thank you.
Nicely done, ladies. Nicely done.
And good luck. Nice job,
Sure, they
Abby.
saved that for an honors entrepreneurship class.
Yes.
Get some credits in high school.
And good luck, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, what a wonderful presentation by our students. Before we move forward on the agenda items, Mrs. can you cue up the screens? Yes. Okay, great. Thank you. Well, maybe. We got one? Okay, everyone take a look at the screen up top. Last week, there we go, was a very exciting week here at Central Office. I received notice from the U.S. News World Report, a national magazine, that Gateway High School has once again received an award, this time the bronze medal, for being nationally ranked as one of the top high schools in the country. And I think it's important that we also understand that the rankings also identified Gateway High School as being number 87 out of 86 high schools in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So that is quite an incredible feat for our high school. Also, 3 days later, on April 28th, the Pittsburgh Business Times, who does their annual school rankings, came out of Western Pennsylvania in the Pittsburgh area and region. Gateway High School came in ranked number 19 out of 123 high schools in the region. I also note that in 2010, notice where Gateway High School was ranked, number 41. And I'm going to talk in a moment about that. And this follows up with our school report card that I mentioned earlier in the school year, that Gateway High School was a top 10 school in Allegheny County with an 89.7 score on the school performance profile. So clear validation of something happening spectacular at that high school. And it starts with our students and the hard work that they put in, along with our staff. But also, I want to read just a little statement, if you don't mind, Mr. Williams. In 2010, Gateway High School organized a school improvement committee aimed at raising the achievement and growth of all students who entered our building. Scores were stagnating, and the data analyzed from students in 4th through 8th grade showed a large amount of students not performing at grade level consistent with their peers. Through the School Improvement Committee, best practices were researched and strategic changes to programming were recommended and adopted to ensure that all students would benefit from an aligned curriculum, clear, standards-driven instruction, and assessments that mirrored what the students were expected to know, understand, and do. It was clear that data provided our educators insight into every child and their deficiencies when entering high school. Teachers began the process of being in-service on how to interpret data that represented attendance, grades, behaviors, and test results to ensure that they had a history and a background and familiarity of their students. The missing piece to our transformation was time. Students who needed the support and remediation were scheduled into double period blocks to ensure not only the core curriculum was being taught, but catch-up time was incorporated to allow teachers to prescribe interventions based off of deficiencies. Gateway High School was ranked number 41 in the Pittsburgh Business Times at the onset of these instructional and programming changes. Since then, they have received a silver and bronze seal from the U.S. News World Report as being a top high school in the nation, as well as being ranked 19th out of 123 high schools in the Pittsburgh region this year in the Pittsburgh Business Times. These accolades are confirmation of students and teachers buying into a proven system that enhances student achievement and growth. Demanding excellence and seeing it through enables our communities of Monroeville and Pitcairn to be reassured that our school district, Gateway School District, is leading the way in innovation and academic excellence. I tip my hat to the educators of this district and our students for the hard work in ensuring that we are maintaining our academic excellence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Short. Section B, bills and financial statements. Mr. Schott.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Section B will actually be presenting at the regular board meeting. Specifically, we'll be presenting Section B1 list of bills for the month of May 2017, Section B2 monthly financial statements for April 2017, and Section B3 budget transfers for May 2017.
Questions or comments for Mr. Schott? Seeing none. Section C, anything tabled?
We have two items that have been previously tabled. Do we have any comments or?
Anybody wish to untable or do anything?
This time, I would like to untable this motion. I would like to take it off the table.
A motion to untable, which motion?
Well,
Which one? Is
we're
there
going,
two or one?
1, 2.
let's go one, and then it's going to go, we'll untable policy, the policy for 30-day policy, to untable that.
The 6-month version or the 3-year version?
Well, since there's two, that's what I was going to say, isn't it? I would say both of them would fall under the same.
So your motion's to untable both.
Untable both of them. if you-
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same motion? Motion carries.
All right,
Continue?
now what do you want to do?
Questions or comments?
I would like to put this on public display for 30 days as it reads from, under consideration policy 808 food service, language change. Change the language under the consideration policy 808 food service under the shelf life standards on pages 3 and 4 as follows. From not to exceed 6 months to not to exceed 3 years. And this, I said, will be on 30-day public view.
So you want to vote for
Number 2.
the second one, mine?
Yeah.
Correct.
Just to put it on display.
Put it on
Put it on
display.
display.
Yes,
I
for
second
30
that.
days.
Okay, there's a motion to vote on the second one, and there's a second by Mr.
Is it
Stubenport.
Can I get this straight? Are we
Questions,
going to take
comments?
off number 1 and then vote on number 2? Is it, can we do that together?
There's a motion and a second to vote on the second one, and then we can make a motion and a second and vote down the first one, hopefully, is the
Right.
board's desire.
This is just questions, comments on
Okay.
this one.
All right, Scotty, this is John Ritter. Am I able to make a comment now?
Yes, you are, John.
All right, I don't want us to switch from 30 days to 3 years. I think we keep the language a little bit like That is to rely on the best practices, guidelines, and standards that are well established by the USDA, the Healthy Drug Administration, all the guidelines that nutritional experts, dietary experts, food handling experts have already been relying for the past 30 years. I think we should leave those in place. In other words, not artificially restricted to 6 months or to 3 years. Therefore, I am against putting on place for 30 days an artificial limitation of 3 years.
So he said, if you didn't hear, he's against putting it on display for actually any amount of time. He just wants to go with the USDA, whatever they recommend.
What was our
I believe that's what he said.
policy prior to a self-imposed 3-year limit?
Correct, and John, I couldn't agree more with you. Unfortunately, I believe that majority of the board would like to make a change, and I'm glad to see that the board has come around to the food director's recommendation. With that, I'd be happy to place a more stringent recommendation on behalf of Martin and his team.
Yes, I understand that, but I don't believe it's wise to make it more stringent. Placing artificial and
John, you're breaking up.
I want to hear you interpret that one.
John,
Okay, thank you.
okay.
Can I just say one thing? I just want to make sure that it's in there, and I guess Martin, you maybe can answer this if need be. Because I'm okay with this too, except for, is there any like products, like, I don't know the answer to this, like canned goods or dry products or something that's more than 3 years, that it's good, or is that, that's just a question. Should we maybe say something about that? I don't know. Because we're saying 3 years, I don't know if maybe canned goods are like 5 years, like in general. I don't know the answer.
Martin,
help
can you
us?
go up to the microphone, please, and sort of give the public an overview in case they don't understand what we're speaking about, please?
Of the 3-year term, this is Mr. Martin Lorenzo, Food Service Director for the Gateway School District.
Basically, shelf life varies from product to product, what type of storage it is. The USDA does state that frozen foods that remain frozen in deep frozen condition remain safe to use indefinitely. With regards to dry goods, it depends. Rices and pastas, those items, you could keep stored in a bomb shelter for upwards of beyond a decade. I mean, we're not looking to keep food around for that long, of course. And we thought the parameters that we had set up here with the 3-year shelf life limitations would give us enough leeway to effectively manage our inventory, regardless of the situation that may be presented by the Department of Agriculture when it came to disbursement of the commodities on an annual basis and all the different dynamics involved with the different variables involved with ordering those items, receiving those items, bringing them into storage, etc. So it varies. Canned goods typically, if stored properly, with dry storage, you're supposed to be conditions that are less than 70 degrees, dry, moisture content low, etc.
That's John.
Those sorts of conditions would conduce a storage that should exceed the 3 years, but off the top of my head, I'm not.
So we can live with the 3 years on everything.
That's what I had recommended and developed as a starting point, and I'm more than comfortable with that moving forward. And I think we can effectively manage our commodity inventory with those parameters in place.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I just have a comment before we vote. I just want to thank everyone from the food service that has shown up over the last month and a half here. Came to the policy meeting, voiced your concerns, sent a lot of emails over the past week or so. So thank you for all of that.
Can you interpret this?
Thank you.
Looks like he's been ready.
Any other questions or comments? We have a roll call vote, please, Jen.
Mrs. Cerrucci?
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich?
Aye.
Mr. Nola?
Aye.
Mr. O'Donnell?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
What's the vote?
so far.
This is the
You
food
already said
service.
you were going to vote no. We're voting now officially on whether we're
On the
putting
3 years.
three-year on
3-year.
display as a new policy.
Thank you. No.
Mr. Stubenboard,
Yes.
Mrs. Warning,
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mrs. Byrne. She's not here.
Motion carries.
You could try her again.
She's not under.
It's still not.
We still have the other,
I'd like to make a motion to remove this from the table and,
Second.
it's already removed from the table.
oh,
Yes.
to just remove it from the agenda.
Just vote it down.
I said it's.
Can I make a motion to vote on it then?
I second.
Well, to
Motion.
deny.
To deny.
Okay.
The 30-day
Motion
public
to
notice.
deny by Mr. Nola, second by Mr. Stubenport.
Item number 1, correct?
Right.
Questions or comments on this item?
Yeah, could you say
This is the 6-month one.
Removal of the 6 month.
regarding food?
That was
Yes.
tabled.
Yes.
We untabled both of them.
So the motion to deny at a yes vote would be against it.
Turn it down.
A no vote would be for it.
The one we just voted on, John, was the
The 3-year.
3-year one.
So we're voting
So
to.
we're not gonna, I'm not gonna advertise 3 years, which is
No,
great
we
because
are.
it's.
We
We
are.
just
That
voted
was
to
approved.
advertise 3 years.
So now we have to
We're
throw
gonna
out
get
the
rid of
6
the
months?
six-
Trying to just throw out the
Exactly.
6 months.
We're removing that item from.
Appreciate it.
To remove.
Any other questions or comments? Jack, we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Lapsevich,
Yes, it's to remove.
It's a yes.
Yes.
Mr. Nola,
Yes.
Mr. O'Donnell,
Yes.
Mr. Ritter,
Yes?
Mr. Stubenboard.
Yes.
Mrs. Warning,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mrs. Cerucci.
Aye.
Motion carries. Section D, Personnel Agenda. Crump.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. We do have one listing tonight for voting. Resolved that the Gateway Board of School Directors accepts and approves the personnel agenda items 1 through 3 as listed in Section D for the study session meeting of Tuesday, May 2nd. Under employment, we have a substitute food service worker, 4 substitute teacher's aides, and 4 substitute teachers that we are requesting approval for.
I have a motion.
Second.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Stubenport, second by Mr. Nola. Questions or comments on the action item?
What's pending, can I ask?
Pending documentation.
Yeah.
That person just came in today, and so we have all of her clearance and some of her payroll information. So we have all the vital information, we're just waiting for her to bring back payroll information.
And I had already asked you this question, but just for the public, we're doing this as an action item. Could you explain as to why?
We're doing it as an action item because, as we have advertised, we are desperate for substitutes. As a matter of fact, 3 of these people will be called to start tomorrow morning based upon approval tonight. So we're putting them to work immediately.
Good. Thank you, Trish.
Any other questions or comments? Jack, we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Nola,
Aye.
Mr. O'Donnell,
Aye.
Mr. Ritter,
Aye.
Mr. Stubenboard,
Aye.
Mrs. Warning,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mrs. Cerucci,
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich.
Aye.
Thank you very
Motion
much.
carries.
Then we'll go to the personnel agenda for the regular board meeting of Tuesday, May 23rd. Under leave of absence, you will see 5 leave of absences listed. For extended school year, we are requesting approval for 14 teachers and 1 nurse for extended school year. We're also requesting the approval of 31 aides for extended school year. Under early literacy, we have the listings of 10 individuals and 1 paraprofessional. Section 4, we have 5 volunteers listed. And under Section 5, it's the substitute staffing services to approve and authorize Kelly Educational Staffing to provide substitute services for district teachers, clerical, and paraprofessional staff pending agreement review by the solicitor. We have representatives from Kelly Services here this evening if you have any questions for them.
Questions, comments?
Any questions for Kelly Service?
Well, if they're here, I'd like to know what kind of teaching qualifications any of their staff has and how they could fulfill this role.
Hi there,
King. I'm the Area Vice President for Kelly Services, and this is Karen Hausman, who's our Branch Manager for Kelly Educational Staffing. Thank you for having us today, and I think your question was regarding the qualifications.
Yeah, I think when the public hears Kelly Staffing, they think secretarial office staff.
Right,
So can you just
absolutely.
kind of give them an overview of what you can do for the school district?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Kelly Services is the largest provider of substitute staffing in the country. We have over 50,000 substitutes within our pool within U.S. operations. We've been providing substitute staffing in the Pittsburgh market since 2009, and subsequently have 30 districts that we support in regards to substitute staffing, whether it's the teacher piece, paraprofessional, clerical, it could be custodial and food service as well. Karen and her team, we have a local branch office in Robinson as well as downtown, as well as an on-site location in Lawrence County. We provide service to Lawrence County, Butler County, Allegheny County, and Beaver County right now.
And I can speak specifically to the qualifications. Kelly Educational Staffing is one of the professional lines of staffing under the Kelly Services umbrella. So we do specialize in all of the Pennsylvania required clearances, of course, that the state requires, in addition to those 3 clearances that we're all familiar with, the FBI, the child abuse, and the state police. We also run, in addition to those 3, at no pass-through cost to any of our districts, the National Sex Offender Registry and the 7-year county criminal background check. On top of that, they are required to come in with a 2-hour substitute teacher training. All substitute teachers and paraprofessionals do come in with that training. They do need to pass a test within 2 tries. Once they pass that test, then they'll get the application to continue the process. And the other training piece that they are required to have is the 3-hour Act 126 mandated reporter of child abuse training as well. So that, on top of a structured behavioral interview, we feel that we effectively screen great qualified substitute candidates for our districts.
And in the Pittsburgh area, we have about 1,200 subs in our pool already, with some strong local districts locally. So we have a nice sub pool already that would be eager and willing to participate within your district if the opportunity exists. So we appreciate the consideration. Are there any other questions?
I noticed in your literature that you have some substitutes that have bachelor's degrees, some have master's, some have doctorates, and then there's a class called others. I think you were referring to like student teachers, teachers who are in college, not yet graduated, hoping to get in. Is that the part of the other that you mentioned?
Yes, there is a new act, Act 86 of 2016. It just went into effect in the fall, that an education student in college with 60 education credits can qualify to be a substitute teacher. Now, we take all of our direction from each of our districts. So based on your district's wishes, we would thereby start recruiting with those qualifications. So if you wanted the Pennsylvania certification as one of your minimum qualifications, then that's what we would recruit for Gateway School District. But there are a handful of our districts who have some other qualifications that they'll consider, such as an inactive Pennsylvania certification, an emergency certification, and then the Act 86
I think I like
credentials.
that idea because some college students are poor, and when they go through your organization, they're paid for their internship. That helps the students out, that helps the district out to get familiar with some of these interns so that we might be able to hire them either as full-time or as substitute staff or whatever later on. So I think I like that program.
Very good. And that's a great feature, and another thing that we can offer to those substitute teachers is full benefits. We have healthcare and dental and 401k that we can offer to the substitutes as well, which is, and any time a substitute would enroll with Kelly, there's no fee to that substitute to do so, and they can sub at any one of our 30 districts. And the districts do have the option to hire those subs full-time, which is a great option for the districts to see if they fit well in the environment and are meeting or exceeding expectations prior to hiring them. So.
Well, thank you very much for coming by tonight and introducing yourself face-to-face. That
Oh,
means
it's
a lot.
our
Appreciate it.
pleasure. Thank you. Any other questions?
I have a question on the nurses, the substitute nurses. Okay. What is qualifications, are you looking at LPNs, RNs? Which, do you have both, or?
Again, we would take our direction from your school district. All of the districts that we currently provide substitute nurses for do require the RN, so that is where we start with an active RN license, and we actually turn those candidates over once we get the clearances to our Kelly Healthcare Division, and they administer computer testing and get their CPR cards, first aid cards, and keep their state licensure on hand, TB tests, et cetera. So the Kelly Healthcare Division does spearhead the qualifications for the nurses, but I can speak to those, that if you do wish to have RNs, then that's what we'll recruit for your district is RNs.
What is your fill rate on the nurses?
I don't have any of that information with me.
Yeah, I think it kind of varies. We don't do nurses at every district that we have, but we can provide that if you would want that. And again, we mirror the pay rates, so it kind of could depend on what the pay rates are for the
That's what I was going to ask you, my next question.
So we do take a look at that and try to provide some consultative suggestions on what that hourly rate should be, because sometimes if it's too low, it can be a challenge. But we've been doing it for...
Since 2009 at Pine Ridgeland.
At Pine Ridgeland, yeah, and have been doing
And we
fine.
also provide them at Plumboro since 2011.
The other school districts in our area, can you name some of the other districts that are using your?
Yes, we're currently in Woodland Hills School District, East Allegheny, Plumboro, Wilkinsburg, Fox Chapel, and those are in this corridor of East of Allegheny County.
Yeah. Good question. Anything else?
Do you have substitute school directors in case anything like the weekend off?
Not yet, but
Okay,
that
we'll work on it.
could be a good
Irreplaceable
spearhead that. But again, we appreciate the opportunity to be here, and thank you for the consideration.
Thanks, guys.
Okay,
Thank you.
ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or anything under personnel agenda?
One other question, Mrs. Crump. How many classes do you see having for the extended school year?
My understanding for right now, for the extended school year for early literacy or for,
Let's break it up in both. I'm looking at the extended school year for the teachers, not the early literacy.
that is for covering also for the high school and the classes here at Mosside Middle School. Ms. Asti has created the classroom need based on the teachers here, so I am assuming, and I can verify that for you, that we would need 14 classes.
Okay, how many aides are you looking to put in each classroom?
I know she requested 40, but we only had 31 responses, so we will continue to recruit to see how many that we can get. But currently, we have only had responses from those 31.
Okay, and how many hours is this going to be, or how many hours daily?
I believe they're doing it from 9 to 12.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions under section D? Seeing none, section E, conferences, conventions, we don't have any.
There are none this month.
Section F, administrative resolutions, Mr. Short.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. We're going to be breaking up section F here a little bit. I would like Dr. Rossi, if he could take item number 1.
Sure, we have a final approval for policy number 249, bullying, cyberbullying, which is Exhibit A. The final approval of the following policy was placed on 30-day public display beginning March 21st. And this is to be reviewed every 3 years, and that's why it's on the agenda.
Thank you. Item number 2, we have appointment of school board secretary. This is issued every 4 years, and this is asking the board to approve in accordance with section 404 of the PA School Code, the appointment of Bonnie Isha as school board secretary for a term commencing on July 1 through June 30th. Also, item number 3, we have appointment of the school board treasurer for the 2017-18 fiscal year. We're seeking approval in accordance with, once again, section 404 of the Public School Code, with the appointment of Paul Schott as business manager and school board treasurer for a one-year period commencing July 1 through June 30th. If we can move to item number 4, we have the Learning Garden, the Grove Pittsburgh Agreement. Dr. Rossi?
Evergreen was able to secure the grant from the Learning Garden Grove Pittsburgh, which we mentioned last month. Provide 12 beds, 4 to 6 benches, 4 to 6 seating boulders, a storage container, and an irrigation system. And then we have facility agreements as listed, and I believe we have an action item for Meet the Candidates Night on 5/8/17.
Thank you, Dr. Rossi. Also, item number 6, I got Mr. Schott, and he will continue through a number of items there, Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Short. Item number 6, the seeking appointment of our school dentist for 17-18 fiscal year, specifically the continued appointment of Richard M. Appletar, Jr., DMD, to continue serving as district school dentist for 17-18 fiscal year at the rate of $5 per student dental examination. And again, that is no increase in price for 17-18 fiscal year. Next item is the approval of the depository district funds for the 17-18 fiscal year. In accordance with Section 621 Pennsylvania School Code, designate PNC Bank Miracle Mile office to continue as district's depository for a one-year period from July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018. Next item, number 8, is approval of investment of district funds with financial institutions for the 17-18 fiscal year. In accordance with Section 440.1 of the Pennsylvania School Code, continue the investment of district funds with one or more of the following financial institutions: PNC Bank, Pennsylvania School District Liquid Asset Fund, and any other appropriate FDIC-insured financial institution not specifically listed above, in accordance with the collateralization requirements established by Pennsylvania School Code during the 17-18 fiscal year. Next item is the annual approval of the Forbes Road Career and Technology Center budgets for the 17-18 fiscal year, specifically the operating budget in the amount of $6,362,458, and the administrative budget in the amount of $304,760. Please note that there were no change, 0, and 0% change in either of those budgets from the 16-17 to the 17-18 fiscal year. The district's projected portion of the administrative budget is calculated at $71,440.81. And again, that entire overview of that budget is depicted in Exhibit C. Next item is seeking the extension of the service agreement with CTI Water Treatment Solutions for the continuation of district heating and cooling water treatment services for a 17-18 fiscal year in the amount of $4,500 as depicted in Exhibit D. And again, no change in that price as well for the 17-18 fiscal year. Next item is to adopt, advertise, and place on public display the proposed final general fund budget for the 17-18 fiscal year. This requirement is in accordance with Act 1. The preliminary amount, which is the same amount that we discussed last week at our Budget and Finance Committee meeting, is currently at $75,980,000. And again, this is just the proposed final. On the 23rd, this does not set the millage rate. This does not finalize anything. We continue to work on the budget over the next 2 months to hone items in the budget and to make it as accurate as possible as new information comes in. So again, just another step in the Act 1 process. Next item is the approval of disposal agreement with Shred-it for 17-18 fiscal year at the various fees as depicted in Exhibit E. Next item is seeking the approval of purchase for 3 handheld metal detectors. 3 handheld metal detectors in a total amount of $439.27. Next item is approval of the intensive behavior support and behavior support student education services through Adelphi Education Services for a 17-18 fiscal year for the various rates as depicted in Exhibit F. Next item is to seek to purchase and for payment of maintenance department equipment during the 16-17 fiscal year as depicted, specifically 1 Toro 6000 Series Z mower and 1 new Ford F-250 four-wheel drive regular cab truck with the various Meyer snowplow, tailgate lift, and electric inverter for the same truck. Total amount of those items, $45,668.41. proposing to make this purchase now as opposed to 17-18, to provide a little bit of fiscal relief for 17-18. And in addition, we have the funds available in the current year to make those purchases.
So it's budgeted money is what you're saying?
Yes. Award of written quote for the Capital Reserve Fund, capital repair project for 17-18 fiscal year. Award the written quote for the building envelope repairs at the high school auxiliary gymnasium to C.E. Davis Contracting LLC in the amount of $17,900. Please note that this project was previously approved at the estimated amount of $25,000, so we have a cost savings of approximately $7,100 for that particular project for the 17-18 Capital Reserve Fund budget. Next item is to recognize a district donation received from Ninkasi LLC, DBA Dad's Pub and Grub, $400 for the teachers' treasurers over at Mosside Middle School. Next item is the appointment of school physician for the 17-18 fiscal year. The continued appointment of Stephen R. Wolf, DO, MPH, who is with the group of physicians from Forbes Regional Hospital, to continue serving the district school physician for 17-18 fiscal year for the amount of $7,758. Again, an unchanged amount. I think this amount's been unchanged for probably 15 to 20 years. So it's been quite a while. It's been able to hold that amount.
And I will thank you, Mr. Short. We should rename it Section P for Paul. Covered a lot of items there.
No problem.
Item number 20, we have approval. This is an action.
Actually, I'm sorry, I actually have one more.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
We also have the award of a written proposal for the Capital Reserve Fund for an additional capital repair project for the mechanical rooftop unit replacement work at Ramsey Elementary School to Train USA Incorporated through the U.S. Communities Government Purchasing Alliance in the amount of $538,384 to be paid from the district's Capital Reserve Fund budget for a 17-18 fiscal year. Please note that this amount is $213,384 greater than the original $325,000 originally projected in the budget. However, the previous cost savings realized on other previously awarded capital repair projects, including the previous one mentioned tonight on the envelope savings, and also some of the unrequired outside services previously budgeted in the 17-18 budget, specifically water consultant and lighting engineer, will actually be enough in savings to fully offset the additional $213,384 in the capital repair expenditures for the district, thus maintaining the budget and not overspending the budget for next fiscal year.
I have one more item to cover, and then we can open it up for questions. Item number 20, and this is an action item for tonight. We have the approval of the student adjudication expulsion agreement for student A. Information was provided to the school board related to the signed agreement for that. Questions, comments?
Before we do that, I'll just make a motion to approve number 20 and the last item under number 5, which are both action items.
So moved.
And then answer.
So moved.
It's a motion by Mr. Steubenfort and a second by Mr. Nola.
Thank you.
Questions, comments?
So this is for 20
And
5.
The only thing I asked for or I guess question I would have for the facility agreement, to meet the candidates night, do we have an invoice of that number? Because I was looking through the policy, and I came up with, $250. I know some of these are they're fluid numbers, like I know the Army Field Band concert was at 0 and it changed to 200 right before the meeting.
That's correct, yes.
So can we just take another look at that?
We can do that. I know that we've been back and forth through that, but we can meet with Patty Jovanovich tomorrow just to review that.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments?
I'd like to see 5 and 20 separated for votes, please.
You need a second? I'll second you then, I guess, whatever.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? Okay, we'll start, questions or comments on anything else, number 1 or 2?
on the items that Paul went over? Is that-
We're gonna do 5 first.
No, we're on the action items right now.
Okay, just one more question for Twain. The expulsion, we can't go into any details or anything.
No.
Just want to make sure.
We will do the expulsion first.
Okay.
That's number 20.
Okay, yeah, number 20 first, the expulsion. Jack, we have a roll call, please.
And this is for number 20.
Right.
Mr. O'Donnell,
Aye.
Mr. Ritter,
Aye.
Mr. Stubenborg,
Aye.
Mrs. Warning. Aye. Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mrs. Cerucci,
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich,
Aye.
Mr. Nola.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Now we're going to 5.
Now we're going to 5.
It's 5, all of them, or just the one? or
Just the
what?
one with
Just
the
the one
little
action
action
item.
item beside it.
Which one is it for?
Monroeville Community Cares Meet the Candidates Night.
Oh, okay.
That is the only one out of that section. Questions, comments on this one?
I have a comment. Just so the community knows, I'm going to abstain on the Monroeville Community Cares Meet the Candidate Night because I believe I have a conflict on that. I believe other board members, some other board members have a conflict as well. But that's why I will abstain on Monroeville Community Cares. That's all.
Yeah, I believe I need to abstain as well. Thank you for bringing that up.
Well, you're not running for anything.
But I serve as a secretary on a local
Okay.
Political committee, so there's a conflict.
Bruce, I would just ask for your guidance on this because I don't believe there is a conflict, correct? Unless one of those are sponsoring the event or benefiting from the event.
I think in a literal sense, under the Ethics Act, provided you're not spending any money, there's no conflict. It may appear to some that there's a conflict, and certainly you have a right to make the expression that you believe there's a conflict. But I think in a legal sense, there's no conflict to vote to approve the use of the facility if you're not spending any money on Gateway's part.
Very good, thank you.
Questions or comments?
May I ask a question? What if one of the political groups of which I was a part was spending money?
That would be a conflict.
So therefore, I do abstain.
But your group's not paying for that event?
One of the candidates might be going to that event, and the committee might be offering money to that candidate. Therefore, there could be a conflict of interest.
Where's the money coming to Gateway?
The money is not going to Gateway.
Then my original opinion would hold that there's no legal impediment. Again, I certainly respect the appearance that two of the members have articulated here, but I don't believe that creates a conflict.
Thank you very much.
I'm just going to make a comment here. Before the vote, I'm going to abstain. From my perspective, I'm supporting candidates in this, and I don't want to be caught in the middle, so I'm going to be abstaining from that vote.
Everyone else add in their 2 cents. I will be voting for this, and I thank the parents that are putting this together, and I think the community deserves to see where candidates lie on issues, and I do appreciate that it's nonpartisan, that everyone will have participation, will get questions in advance, and just everyone in the audience will also be present. I think it's long overdue and something that Monroeville should look to embrace in the future as well.
Aye. I will abstain, but I do say that this is a good thing, and I think we should continue to do things like this. Because it's part of, I think it's part of being part of the community. So I think it's a very good thing, but I will abstain because I will be participating.
George?
Well, I have pros and cons on this. Should I vote for it, shouldn't I? And I feel in my heart now, even though my wife's running for first ward council, I feel in my heart what she would want is to be heard. Everyone else the people that are already in office, people know them, they know their faults and their likes, but they don't know anything about my wife, so I like for them to be able to see my wife and fill her out. That's the reason I'm voting for it. Thank you.
Scotty?
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I think I'll comment since everybody else has commented. I just, want to say that a group of moms that run the Monroeville Community Cares page tried to put together an event so people in the community could meet all of the candidates. So I view it as a nonpartisan type of an event where the community can benefit greatly from learning, about the candidates they're going to be voting for. And really all they've asked us to do is rent the facility. So I don't have a problem with that.
Any other comments? I too will abstain from this, being I'm the only one on the school board running for school board again. And also, I think I agree with Neil, it's a great thought to have a meet the candidate night, if you want to say that. But with all the gray areas here and a lot of people running for office and even affecting this board here sometimes, the political nature of it, that is why I will abstain. If there's any other questions or comments,
Speak now
feel
or
free
forever
now.
hold your peace.
Janet, can we have a roll call, please?
Sure. Mr. Ritter?
I abstain.
Mr. Stubenborg?
Aye.
Mrs. Warning?
I abstain.
Mr. Williams?
Abstain.
Mrs. Cerucci?
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich?
I'm in favor of it. Aye.
Mr. Nola?
I abstain.
Oh.
Motion fails.
Do I get a vote?
You didn't call Steve.
Mr. O'Donnell.
I'm sorry. Mr. O'Donnell, I'm sorry.
Is this a personal thing? You cut me out.
Absolutely not.
Wait till you hear what I was going to say about Paul. I abstain.
So does it carry because, or does we have to have 5?
It does not, you have to have a majority of those present. This isn't one of the 5 vote topics. There's a whole list of 5 vote topics. I have them in my briefcase if you'd like to hear them. There's also a list for 2/3. This doesn't fit into either of those categories. This is a majority of those present. That's the rule.
So 3 over 0 passes?
Well, there's 8 of you, right?
So 5. You need 5 to pass it.
5 abstains.
You need 5 to pass it.
Right.
So we have too many abstains to pass
Right.
it.
Correct.
Well, that's a problem.
Could we get some of those
I,
Kelly's secretary board members to come in and vote? This would be perfect because they are non-political.
I'm going to try this again. I make a motion to approve the Monroeville Community Cares Meet the Candidates Night.
Second.
Motion and a second.
Under questions and-
or comments?
Under questions and comments, I'd like to make a comment. I would urge all board members, since our legal opinion is that we are able to vote on this. This is what school district facilities should be used for, something that's beneficial to the public. And we have bands come in and perform, which is great. It's awesome. We have sporting teams come in and they perform. That's great and it's entertaining. This is an event that is completely unbiased, an event that really does nothing but benefit the voters. I was actually going door to door today, and I couldn't tell you how many times people said, well, who all is running? Where can we get information? And there's nowhere to, unless someone is on Facebook and knows, how to go around and visit all the candidates' pages if they have one. It's very difficult and extremely difficult to find information on all the candidates. I would just hate to see Gateway, a place of education, prohibit something like this to happen. I know, Bill, you had said Hempfield just had an event similar to this, actually sponsored by the school, at the school, Meet the Candidates Night. Murraysville does one similar, Plum does one. So I think it is beneficial. I think, if you look out in the public and ask people in the public, people are looking forward to coming and looking forward to meeting the candidates and learning about what the issues are. So I would urge anyone who did abstain just to reconsider, think about everyone out there and think about everyone watching at home and what they want and whether or not the facilities that we're using, which are paid for by their money, by taxpayer dollars, should be utilized for educational purposes or not. That's all
I'd like to make a comment as well. First of all, I don't think, I'm going to move to table this, okay? Because I don't think we can just keep.
There's no discussion.
Well, I haven't moved it yet.
Well, you're thinking
You
about it.
can't do that. You do that all the time.
Can I
I'm
make a
going to think
comment?
about tabling something. Okay, let's go ahead.
But I want to point out that this is a good idea. There's no question that this is a good idea. And I've been involved in debates at the congressional level. Usually, the debate and its format and date are set well in advance by the people that want to conduct the date, so that everyone is clear to be there, everyone understands the nature of the format, everyone understands whether or not you can have reporters there, cameras there, photographs. There's multiple things that go into it. And the reason that you have that you have these discussions about this is because you don't want any candidate to be placed in a situation where they get what's called the gotcha question. So that's one thing I think that the public needs to know. Secondly, because candidates on this board, Mr. Stubenbort, Mr. Nola, Mr. Lapsevich, Mr. Williams, myself, all have individuals that they support or are in fact running, it's my impression and my opinion that there is a conflict of interest and that we derive the benefit of that public format as candidates. Now, nothing wrong with that except we're voting on it to allow it to be used. That's the problem. So with those comments, I'd like to move to table.
Before you table, can I make am I allowed, never mind.
Go
I
ahead.
forgot.
Looks like it fails due to a second.
You can talk.
Say that again?
Looks like it
Am I
fails
allowed
due
to
to a
talk
second.
Nobody seconded, so you can go.
Second is table.
You can talk.
All right, the reason why I'm abstaining is we had a political, I guess, well, we had a political candidate come here before the presidential election, and I think it's a very good idea. I mean, it gave a lot of the community a lot of insight what was going on. I think this is a great idea. But I was subject to a right to know with my phone, with my computer. That invaded my privacy. We as the board members don't have our own personal, our own phones. We have to use our phones. We don't have school-issued phones. I felt that was taking an awful lot from me. So being in this position right now, I don't want that to happen again. I don't feel the school should be in a political back and forth with this. It's very good. I wish they could use the library. You got the senior citizen facilities that are available. I wish they could work something out there.
So I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So I move to table.
Is there a
Right,
second?
we're waiting for a second, but we're taking this opportunity.
I'm looking for, I'm
So
looking.
you're violating the rule of
Yeah.
table, so go ahead.
When there's a motion,
This board likes to
Does it
talk.
fail due to a second again? Because I'd like to speak.
Can I get a second
Is
on
there
my
a second to
motion?
this
is there a
motion?
second to the motion?
If someone,
second.
if
There's a
someone
second.
seconded.
There's a second, okay.
Who's second?
Val just did. Motion to table by Mr. O'Donnell, second by Ms. Warren.
Roll call.
Roll call, Jan.
Mr. Stubenbort,
Absolutely not.
Mrs. Warning,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
No.
Mrs. Cerucci,
No,
Mr. Lapsevich,
No.
Mr. Nola,
No.
Mr. O'Donnell,
Yes.
Mr. Ritter.
No.
Okay, now let's back over for discussion. All right. I hate that we do this procedurally, just about every meeting now, that we try to call things to question and table things so that we can't have any discussions. But you did bring up a good point. We had Ted Cruz come to the school, students that got to meet him. Wow, what an amazing opportunity for them, especially students going through, some of this stuff, learning about the process in their classes. We have a church that comes on Sundays and uses the facilities. If we don't think that a place of academia should be a place for the public to come and learn what the people that are going to sit in these very seats think about the district and how they may vote one way or another, or what issues are important to them, I really think we need to do some soul searching and think, is this appropriate? I mean, I believe that the public has every right to know where people sit on the issues. I think for us to hinder it would, you know, we always hate to say, oh, it's going to give Gateway a black eye. I think this is doing just that. You know, giving Gateway a black eye, a place of academia, really does not even want to allow the public to come and see where people stand on issues.
Chad, let me see if I can correct you. I think everyone here is vehemently in favor of opening the door. We just can't find a way to do it without, and still avoid every appearance of evil. So if there's a tangle, we must abstain. So how can we do what we can't do?
Well, I would say, with that being said, I mean, everyone voted one way or another for
Sure.
Ted Cruz. There's no one abstained from that.
Because
everyone sitting up here is registered to vote.
Right, because we found a way to be able to bring him in without personally being entangled, you know, with his candidacy. But this is a different matter here.
I don't find it different. I mean, the way I view it, and I think, you know, Bruce said it, you know, spot on, that it's not an ethical violation. We're all elected people. We are all politicians by nature, sitting in these very seats. Right? We're all registered to vote. We're all going to vote in the primary. We're all going to vote in the general election. So to think that, oh, we can't vote on an issue because we are politicians or we are running for an office.
No, we did vote on it, but we voted to abstain because we found in ourselves the possibility for an entanglement, and I can't find a way to resolve that.
One of the reasons that I moved to table it is that we've already voted it just a few minutes ago. Now, I understand you're not okay with that, but we can't continually come back and say, well, I didn't get my way, so I want to move it again. Or I didn't get my way that time, I want to move it again. Secondly, I'm on record, and so is everybody else, we want this to happen.
Definitely.
But there's a clear conflict of interest here. And the people that I pointed out are the people that derive the benefit from the use of publicly funded facilities. And all I'm saying is that for that reason, we need to abstain. We need to step back and not vote it. So, so we can't just keep raising it over and over again. I mean, you've been the fellow who's been raising issues of procedure, okay?
Yeah, and I'd love to follow up with that comment. Just last school board meeting, we actually voted on something that was voted down previously. I believe it was actually brought up by you, to give pay to the Teamsters. That was voted down by this very board, the exact same motion, which we then brought up and voted over again. So I just don't think we should use hypocrisy like that.
Well, not using hypocrisy. I voted to give Teamsters more than a 10-cent an hour raise. You were against it, okay? It's not rocket science, guys.
That's not true.
Okay?
I don't want to get into bickering about it.
Let's just not go over past.
I think we should vote on it.
Is anybody in the,
Questions or comments?
can the public speak?
So it's not a,
Can you ask them?
There's a motion and a second here.
Well, they can ask for public comment if you want.
That's at the end.
Well, I would just urge the public, if anyone is watching at home, which I know people do, if anyone here in the public is not happy that we're not using a place of academia paid for by taxpayer dollars for an educational purpose, to please write to the Gateway School Board, GSD _ what is it?
K12.org.
School board at gatewayk12.org. And just voice your displeasure. That seems to work.
Okay, Chad, just a comment, is there any other facilities that could be used off campus? This is what, I mean,
I'm not in charge of voting for any other facilities. The one that I do have a say is this one. And I just think it would be asinine to not allow the taxpayers to come in and view their options in a building that they paid to build.
and I think it's clearly inappropriate to vote in favor of this that allows taxpayer-funded facilities to be used to advance candidates' agendas and candidates' candidacies. If it were not placed in front of us, it's an entirely different issue. But it is placed in front of us. And so an affirmative vote to allow this to go forward says to this group or any group, you can come in and use this facility even though I have a conflict of interest. I'm not running for school board or anything, but I'm the campaign chairperson for Stephanie Byrne, and I think that creates a conflict for me.
But you disagree with the solicitors?
I do.
Okay.
So, okay.
Any other comments?
It's not that we disagree. He said there's no legal line that would be crossing. And I accept that, but personally, I want to avoid even the appearance of evil. So let's say that I voted in favor of this, using my role as a school board director, and it passed, and then my candidate went on to win some position because they came to the event and eventually won the race. Then I would have had a hand in using my school board director's hat to promote a candidate that would win. And so I can't find a way to
I'm not
divorce
sure if that's
myself.
necessarily true, because you're not, all the candidates are there, so what's the difference?
Right, and there's no guarantee that even if I would support them, mine would win and the other one would lose.
Right, so I don't think,
Bruce,
see, I'm starting to think the opposite now, that
I have another legal question.
it's just an organization wanting to use our facility, and why are we even making it political is the question.
Don't we have an obligation to vote as elected members?
The answer to that is,
Because don't we have to fill out a form that,
no, you can abstain if you want to abstain. The time that you have to fill out the form is when you have a conflict that would be true in the legal sense. But at any given time, a member of the board, if they choose, I don't want to, much like what Mr. Ritter said, you know, he recognizes there's no legal impediment, but if he chooses in his mind to say, you know, I just don't feel comfortable doing it, I see the potential for impropriety there, in his mind, not my mind, but in his mind, he has the right to abstain.
Any other questions or comments?
Is there any chance you can ask people in the public if they would like to comment? I think you have the ability to do that.
Well, I think anybody seeking information on candidates can look to the Times Express, and Sampson Horn does a good job at that.
But I'm saying, maybe they want to comment on this particular.
but wouldn't that be pushing some agendas because not everyone's written about in the Times Express?
I'm not
Okay,
saying
so Neil, what are you
either way.
asking? Are you asking whether there's someone here who can...
I don't know, yeah,
who can offer an argument that would enable me to see things a little differently? Is that what you're asking?
I think so, yes.
Because we've asked the board, you know, we've gotten a legal opinion, we've gotten opinions from the rest of the board, I'm still unable to find a way to do it, even though I want to do it. So you're wondering whether the public can help.
Would you think it was a good thing to do if people in the public said they think it's a good thing to do?
Or if people that abstain can walk out of the meeting?
If they could give me a reason for it, then I would latch on to that reason. I just can't, I can't find it right now.
Yeah, if a couple people left the meeting, then.
You may not have a quorum.
Any other comment or questions on this motion? Janet, can we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Horning,
I abstain.
Mr. Williams,
Abstain.
Mrs. Cerucci,
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich,
Aye.
Mr. Nola,
Aye.
Mr. O'Donnell,
Abstain.
Mr. Ritter,
Abstain?
Mr. Stubenborg.
Aye.
Any other questions on section
I have a comment.
F?
I have a comment on the appointment of the treasurer.
Oh, I did also, but go ahead, you go first.
Do we have the preschool and kindergarten records of Mr. Schott that perhaps the board could review before? Because I heard some comments about, at one point, now this is unverified, that Mr. Schott had some big feelings about some issues. So I'm just throwing that out. Paul?
Any other comments on section F?
I believe I do, hold on.
Anybody else, section F? I'm waiting for Chad.
Number 9, the Forbes Road and Career and Technology Center. We pay the lion's share of that, of their cost, correct? We're the most participating district.
I'd have to double check that. I have the sheet from last year. I wouldn't say it's the lion's share of it, but I believe there's 9 member districts that participate in that.
We represent.
We represent a good percentage of
Okay.
I'd say maybe
That's
the
what I
top
looked
three.
at
I
were
don't think we, I don't think
the
we're
large.
number one, but
I don't think we're
I'd have to
number
wear
one,
it.
Yours
but
is
we're in the top.
We represent 20%. Or more.
Of 9 districts, that's a pretty big portion. Okay, I was just wondering before the voting meeting, if it was possible for administration to reach out to Forbes and see if they would be willing to imitate our schedule, Gateway schedule. So I was talking with transportation, and they have their own schedule versus Gateway schedule. And since it's in Monroeville and a lot of the students come from Gateway, I believe number 1 or number 2, we might be slightly behind Penn Hills, that if they could adopt our schedule, it would save us roughly $10,000 or more in busing, because there's days that they have half days where we do not, or there's days that they have school when we do not have school. So just something very, very.
Are you saying, are you saying the calendar, or are you talking the
calendar
hourly
date.
day?
The calendar.
Calendar, yeah.
I'm just asking if administration would be willing to reach out and see if that's something they'd be willing to do.
Would that result in saving us some money?
It would save us over $10,000.
That's a good idea, I think.
Thank you.
I can do that.
Very good. I think I have one more question. The handheld metal detectors, just for clarification, I saw that they're from Gall, so I understand where they're coming from, but can someone just talk on as to what those are so people don't think we're searching for gold?
Sure, I can address that one. For years up at the high school, we've had handheld metal detecting wands that have been used in various situations to either try to uncover a knife or weapon of some form that upon a search from Monroeville Police or administrators, nothing was found. So these handheld metal detectors do date back to the early 1990s. The batteries have been corroding inside the devices, and it was time to replace those.
Very good, thank you. Just wanted the public.
Oh, I'm sorry, you done?
Yeah, I'm done with that one.
Just a real quick comment. That portion is about a little bit shy of 11%. Probably still pretty significant, but about 11%, a little shy of 11% of the budget.
I'll have to talk to my CPA over.
Yeah.
Chad, anything else?
Yes, one more. The district donation received, needy students of the district, teachers, treasurers. Just from a legal standpoint, and I don't want to talk too much because I understand how this can look, but can we just get a legal opinion to make sure, because I don't believe there's any oversight of teachers, treasurers, so it might be better for it to go through the Gateway Education Foundation just so that there's no legal problems. I think that might be beneficial for everybody.
Is there oversight of teachers, treasurers?
Teachers' treasures really is just clothing donations, so I don't really know why they need any operating capital.
No,
The Gateway Education Foundation is the group that has paid for the backpacks and
I think
various things.
It was donated specifically though for teachers, treasurers, but there's no reason why it can't go to the foundation and
This would be
then
a
passed
pass-through.
on to
Yes.
teachers, treasurers.
I'm trying to protect
Yeah.
you guys from illegal.
This would actually be the second donation. I believe back in January or February, we accepted a donation from another organization specifically for teachers, treasurers. How that would work, being a donation to the district, and I can't recall the teacher who's in charge of that program over there, but since we've accepted the donation, they would be able to utilize, say, the district's procurement card. I'll just use that as one example. Say maybe go to Target, maybe buy some necessary items for that, and be able to utilize these funds in that manner for it.
Are you overseeing their budget right now?
Well, we would oversee the amount to make sure that it wasn't exceeded, and they would be utilized specifically for that purpose.
So I know, for example, because I was in there one evening, they go out and buy toilet paper, hand towels, and soaps, and things of that sort.
Yeah, my understanding, there are certain things that are needed in the community that they aren't receiving that specific donations for. So it's just another financial.
Would the foundation pass that on to teachers?
Yeah, that's what the Gateway Education Foundation was formed for. I just want to make sure, and you guys can sort that out before the actual
Plus, the
meeting, but I don't want
Gateway
that
Ed
to be any.
Foundation is a 501c3, so it's a charitable contribution. If he just donates it to the school, it's not,
Listen,
it's
I
the
don't
same
think-
write-off for
there's
the
no,
giver.
you're right. There's nothing wrong with putting it through the foundation and the foundation.
Just look, make sure we don't have any legal.
Sure, and he gets to write it off, then, you're right.
And that's all.
Number 19,
There's too many tonight.
I just have a question.
Wait till we get to it.
Did we rebid this, or, because I remember hearing about it, just want to know,
You know what?
did we rebid, or we just
In my
accepted
director's
it?
report, I'm prepared to sort of go over all of that stuff.
We would like to hear about it now, since we're discussing it.
I abstain from commenting on.
I'm okay if you're going to talk about
I'm
it.
going to talk about all of it, yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
that's fine.
It's not an action item anyway.
Right, I know, that's fine.
Any other questions or comments on section F? Seeing none, moving on. Section G, resolutions presented by board members.
I have a few. Yeah. So, and Bruce, let me know if this is appropriate. So I have one that's not written, but I'd like to at least float out the idea since it is a study session and.
Is it the idea to put it on the agenda for next week?
Yes.
Or 2 weeks from now?
Correct.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so when we look at some of the motions that have gone through this past year, so when we look at air conditioner units being purchased in the middle of winter, when we look at shrubs being cut down at Evergreen, we look at giving a collective bargaining group a raise in the same meeting, actually, that the contract was approved. When we give a bid to the 360 group that we literally got a letter from an hour prior to the meeting with no contract. We actually voted on a contract without seeing a contract. When we do all of these things, rush through with no public input, not on the agenda, brought up last minute, usually 9:30, 10 o'clock in the evening, during board members' reports, it really seems fishy if we're going to talk about ethics and everything else that we're discussing this evening. So what I would like to do is put together something that really just kind of reflects these four main things. So the board should be able to deliberate and dwell on decisions for the consideration of the benefits and costs associated with actions taken. The board should also recognize that the actions taken by a mere majority of the board members without due time for such deliberate thought and consideration may not always reflect the best interest for the stakeholders or the final opinion of an individual board member. The board recognizes its financial obligation to the school district stakeholders to use the financial assets under its discretion in a manner which most efficiently and effectively complete the objectives of the Gateway School District. So really, in short, what I'd be recommending we put into it as a resolution is no resolution shall be made or seconded which is a cost of $5,000 or greater, and given to board members at least 4 days, or not given to board members at least 4 days in advance. That can be waived if it's less than $5,000 or if greater than 2/3 of the board members present approve of it. So that way we're not handcuffed by it, but that way we can't have $60,000 motions go through without any public input, without any board members looking at anything, without us getting a second opinion. So I really don't expect there to be pushback to something so transparent, but I've been surprised on this board before.
So you're talking about changing policy to make it required that you wait at least a minimum of 2 weeks before voting. Is that what you're saying?
4 days.
No, that you give it, so, and where I came
Oh, I
with
thought-
4 days is board members should have the information at least 4 days in advance because board policy states to get something onto the agenda through the superintendent or through the board president that it be submitted in writing at least 4 days prior to said meeting. So at least 4 days so people can look it over, ask questions. There's just no reason, if people are meeting, let's just say, for instance, I don't know, 2 months with a group, that the whole board shouldn't be made aware and have that information available.
I'd like to comment on it. I think in general, that's a good idea, and I'd like to see you write it up and ship it out to the board so we have a chance to take a look at it. I think it's a good idea.
You'd like to look at it?
At least 4 days in
Ship
advance.
it, write it up and ship it out.
I just want to make sure you wanted to look at it. That's
Absolutely.
very good. We share that concern then.
I like the idea of having it written up because I can conceive that there could be holidays, people could be on vacation. You need a definition of what 4 days actually are, you know.
Yeah, we'll do the legalese, but
Yeah,
this was brought up,
Yeah, Mr. Student Board can submit that to me and I can
Great.
include it within the board package
I like
this
the
Friday.
idea as well.
Is your intention to put it on next voting session?
yes, that's why I wanted to bring it up for public discussion.
So I will
public
have it in the
input.
board report on Friday.
Good.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
That's good. Thank you.
What other one do I have? Another one very similar, I don't have it written up yet, but I just wanted to discuss it. It's brought to my attention where, since we are going over rental agreements with facilities of the district, that some groups rent far in advance. For instance, the church that was using every Sunday and other organizations. And our policy now states that, if a school group would like to use that, they have precedence. So I'm just asking, I don't know what the correct answer is, but I'm asking administration if you guys would look into maybe a 3-month, a 6-month, if it's booked so far in advance that we can't change it, just because I don't want to lose people booking based off of that. If, for instance, the church is there every Sunday.
Organization books it 3 months in advance, and then perhaps an inside
Yeah, a group can't
organization.
come in Friday, say, hey, we want this for Sunday.
Okay.
I let the record reflect that this is the third time I agree with Chad. This is
Oh
a
my
good
gosh.
idea. And so that the facility should be for our kids and our programs first. Makes sense.
Very good. Now, the next one, you won't agree with me, so we'll get back to par here. So the next one I put in front of everyone is the achievement gap proposal. And again, this is not for action this evening, but I do want to at least put it out there. I saw that we don't have anything under the administrative resolution. I just want to at least continue the discussion, make changes that I had heard and that other board members had put forth at the last meeting, because inaction, again, isn't, of course, an action, and it's a very bad action. So it follows almost verbatim to what was on there last time, simply replacing the social worker with an equity coordinator. Also, they'll be focusing on the 2 schools that the committee had suggested piloting, but would be open to all schools. If we have a full-time person in there, I think that we would have the capabilities of opening that up full-time. Other than that, there's not much changed. And I just wanted to at least open up to discussion. I know board members had talked about it. If anyone has questions on this or what a full-time person may look like, we do have members of the committee present, and I know April had mentioned she'd be willing to answer any questions.
I only have one question, quick. Does the $125,000 salary include markups, benefits?
That's $125,000 salary, and that, again,
So I'm just
we'll get through
asking
HR.
Trish, if you could, if you don't mind it, because you're going to move it, just make note, include the markups on it so that the total budget reflects total cost. Otherwise, that's all.
So yes, I had a question. I need us to take a look at all this dog-eared stuff that I've got here and actually answer some of the questions that I've had on this. So I still don't think it's appropriate to meet in a big room. I think it would be better done with 2, maybe 3 or 4 people, just to hammer through some of the research I've done. And then, if we find something that's worthwhile, bring it before the rest of the team and have it, hammer it on and maybe turn it into policy. So when can we do that? In other words, you gave us a little note here, and this is a bit of an update. So when can we get some folks to tackle some of the questions
I think you should meet
that I
with the
have?
administration.
My suggestion would be, as chair of that committee, I'd be glad to sit in with you, but maybe raise them with Bill and Dennis Chakey and walk through. If you
Will there be food involved in this?
I would make that motion.
Well,
Cafeteria food?
back to this.
That would be, I have been wanting to go to the cafeteria and sit down and have some of the food, so I would like to do it, maybe over, a long lunch, an hour and a half or something like that with the superintendent.
Everybody's okay, if you're okay with that,
if we could strike out 90% of this.
Some time to review and answer any questions.
That would be helpful. Thank you.
As I do all the time, I believe, I don't know that I'm okay or not okay. I'm somewhere in between here. I need to hear from the administration and the team of the people, the community, and things. Is this what we should be recommending? I still feel that we don't have a definitive plan to say exactly what we're trying to accomplish.
Sure, that's one of the little questions I have.
Right.
So you're on the same page.
I mean, like,
Let's just hammer out
I'm
some
okay
of
with
these
this
things,
if
clarify.
this is the right thing.
Yeah, sure.
but I need to hear from the people that matter if it's the right thing. And that's just my opinion. So, like I said, I think I want to hear the administrators tell me that this is right. And then I can.
I agree. I think, once again, I believe that it should be a public conversation, though.
I want to hear from the
Almost,
community too.
but first, let's have something private, because, 90% of the questions I ask might already have answers, and I don't want to waste our public's time.
Absolutely, and by prior, when did the committee start?
89 days ago, I think. Listen, we've had public hearings and public input on this at any number of occasions, and we can have more. I have no problem at all with that. I think it's a good idea to sit down and go over those things, sure.
I do want to get to a solution, though,
We
and I
can
think it
call
should be
another
urgent
meeting of the
for these
Achievement Gap
guys.
Committee.
Well, I think,
Well,
let's get his issues
The problem is that
first,
there are
okay?
several board members who weren't part of the committee. So several board members have heard a lot of the information and can probably answer John's questions because they were involved in the committee meetings. But the ones that weren't, they don't feel like they want to vote on something until they're more up to speed. So we just have to find a way to get them up to speed a little more.
Well, then, John, I can-
As long as there's,
Okay.
well, if there's 5 or more of us, it has to be public. And if
It's not- no,
somebody
there
has a
wouldn't be.
couple
There'd be-
questions.
I'm just asking, because she sat in on all the meetings. It would be administration, John,
Yeah,
you.
a small team.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I would just suggest, we've had conversations, I don't know, pushing an hour about
And they
Cheesegate
brought invite
publicly.
you as well.
So if we have a lot of members present from the committee, and we have the chairman and administration, I would suggest we just discuss it. We're here to discuss education. We've talked about cheese and athletics and other things for long lengths of time. Why not address, education as school board?
I agree with you, except I just want to say one thing first, I think. I got a thing on Friday, I believe, in one of the reports, our weekly report thing, that said that we are making progress on this. We have went to some other school districts and found some things out.
More research, sure. yeah.
Can we figure out, can we talk about where we are, what we're doing? If this is the angle we're heading, I just want to know, what are we doing?
I'll be honest
and
with you,
how
I
are we
just
getting
received
there?
this tonight.
I agree with you.
We haven't had a chance to look at it since the last meeting where the recommendation was voted down. I know myself, Dr. Rossi, and Dr. Chaky have sat down, met extensively. I do know Dr. Chaky has done some research, reached out to a number of different school districts, and we are looking at the possibility of a equity coordinator, not in that capacity of full-time status. We had mentioned within the committee itself that we were kind of looking for a halftime.
I'm sorry.
Halftime what?
A
Halftime equity
social worker and halftime equity director. So we have been reaching out to individuals from Pittsburgh Public and some national organizations as well.
I think that we need to
Neil,
get on it, though.
You're
because
right.
It's going to
Listen,
be,
you're
it's going to
right.
be late.
Let me
We
say,
need to
John
move.
has had this number of questions for a while. So here's what I'm going to suggest, that we meet with Bill and his team, myself, John, Mary Beth, if she'll join us. We'll answer those, okay? And then I'd be glad to hold another special meeting of the board for the community to come back in and discuss the issue
Before our
again.
next meeting?
Before,
Gives us 2 weeks. We can do that.
I'm okay with meeting before next, what is it?
2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm okay with
We have
that.
plenty of time.
23rd is the regular scheduled school board meeting.
I'm just, all I'm thinking is, let's give people, again, adequate notice of the meeting date, that's all, and make sure that the folks can be here, okay?
I'm okay with it. I just want to make sure that administration
Listen,
is urgent about
You're right.
our process.
You're right, and we'll get it.
I want to get it right. but I wanna-
And we were urgent, and like I said, we had submitted a proposal that was voted down, so we went back to the drawing board. It's not something that you could simply just snap your fingers at and
again, Neil, are you okay if we answer John's issues
Yes.
first, then set a public meeting?
With that being said, Bruce, since I add this as a board resolution, does the public have a chance to speak to this?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think
It's
Bruce
up to
said yes.
Scotty. Scotty's the president.
No. Yeah.
It's up to Scotty.
Mr. Williams.
Is this a resolution that we need a second for?
No, it's,
Wait a minute, this is a what he's suggesting is to put this on for the agenda. item
Right.
next time. So I don't believe the public gets a chance to talk about that. They get a chance to talk next month.
But it says comments from residents on agenda items. This is now going to be.
You just want to put it on the agenda so they can comment on it?
Your motion is to put
We
it
need
on
to
the
comment on it at the
agenda.
end, no matter
Correct.
what. We're not going to let you
For 2
comment.
weeks from now.
yeah. The only thing I'm saying, Chad, and not in opposition, it's not a 10 or 15-minute discussion. It's a lengthy discussion. His questions are perhaps lengthy. So let's just give it a fair airing. It might be a couple of hours, okay? So, because we held the last ones a couple of hours.
I would agree with that. I think we should at least give the public the
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Okay, the public is limited here to whether or not it should or shouldn't be on the agenda. That's the question.
Are you okay putting it on the agenda 6 weeks from now, and then allowing for 1 or 2 discussions if that's required?
If we put it on 6 weeks from now, there's going to be no timing.
Chad, the problem is that you disobeyed your own rule, and you gave this to us 5 minutes before the meeting.
But we're not voting.
That's not true. This is
We're
a
not
study
voting.
session. This is what
Okay,
study
okay, all
sessions
right.
are for.
All right.
Is to discuss and
But-
get public input on items.
All I'm trying to
But the
do-
problem is that after the last meeting was voted down, you know, we were talking afterwards in the hall, and everybody was like, well, what does this mean? And we said, well, we have to go back to the drawing board, and we have to try to find a compromise that will pass.
Correct.
So
I looked,
even
and
though
there's
you may
nothing on
not be
here.
aware, I'm aware that they have been researching and working
I
on
agree.
this.
I agree, but there's nothing on here.
So you're giving the impression that they're not, and you're rushing, I think,
Yeah.
a vote when you haven't heard any other compromise position, and neither have they.
Well,
So-
I have heard. I've talked to Bill.
Well, we don't need to rush it tonight, is all I'm saying, okay?
We're not going to vote on it tonight.
We don't even need to rush the dialogue. I've been on this for a year and a quarter, okay?
Before
And just
we
allow for enough
before we-
time.
They can either talk in 2 minutes or they can talk now. So I just don't see what the difference is. I would
Let's
allow
just
it.
let it go. We'll just-
Well, I'll let you guys speak at the end, because I don't know if there's any other resolutions. I'd like to get through that first, and you guys can comment on the end. Okay,
That's fine.
That's
Sure.
fair.
So Chad, you have?
That's all I have.
Can I ask a question?
Wait till the end. Any other board member resolutions? Seeing none, we'll move on from there.
That's what I'm getting at. It's common.
Comments from residents on non-agenda items. So April, if you wish to speak at this time, please come up, can you please come up to the podium?
When is the budget for next year due?
June.
June 30.
So the concern we have, I hear the word rush a lot. This is in no way rushed. It's just that it's been played around like ping pong so much that different people come to the table. They hear a little bit of it and they say they don't have enough information. This has been brought to this district since 2007. Mr. Elms is here as he's attended one of the meetings that we've had as a community. This is not a rushed situation. What I do see is that if it doesn't get voted, including this budget, is that it'll get put off for another year. And that would be an injustice. What I've seen is a committee that met for over a year to do exactly what Mr. Ritter asked, for a group of people to sit down and figure this out. And we did. When we came forward with our committee recommendation, the next meeting, the equity director was not in our recommendation, and instead, a second recommendation was put into that binder by administration that not only didn't have an equity director, but it increased for a full-time social worker. I'm disappointed. I have brought research. I have brought the promise of data, of schools, that are doing this thing. I've tried to communicate to you that this is a win-win. That if we do these things, that 89.7 will become 100, because the distance between 89.7 and 100 is her African American population. I am disappointed because we are talking about putting this off after 2007. 5 community gatherings, 2 town hall meetings, a former superintendent, a year's worth of achievement gap meetings, and we're doing the same thing that you see in that paper that Pittsburgh Public is going through after 25 years of litigation. I am disappointed because we cannot go down that road and be respectful, responsible educators and administrators to our children. If this does not get put in the next budget for next year, it will yet again been ping-ponged around while people come back and forth on a school board or not, to be heard again and again and again. I'm disappointed.
I could say that this administration is committed to having this on the budget. And we have come forward many times with recommendations. It may not be what everyone wants, however, recommendations have been made. And as I stated earlier, it is the commitment of everyone in our communities, Monroeville and Pitcairn, to engage and to enhance the academic expectations of our children, all children. We have been working behind the scenes for hours, talking to different individuals who can lend assistance to this program. And we are hopeful that we will be able to put together a package that will be acceptable to this board, the committee, and everyone involved. Thank you.
More comments, Laura?
Janet, is there any, sorry, did anybody sign up to speak? Anybody else?
I think some people signed in there.
Anybody else wishing to address the
Mr.
school
Elms?
board?
Mr. Elms had emailed us.
I don't know if my voice has been pulled out, so I made copies of resumes.
Bob Elms, 1303 Foxborough Drive. In December 2011, I became a Gateway School Board Director. The board's biggest task in 2012 was to hire a new superintendent. My number one question for the candidates was, how would you close the achievement gap? Mr. Williams and Mr. Donalds were on the board at that time. Here we are in 2017, and we're still talking about the same problem. Mr. Shirt will tell you, and he already has, about clear standards, curriculum framework, and proven intervention. And that's taken from his 2016 district report card. And I agree with those. But those are just parts of the solution for closing the achievement gap. The Kennewick School District in Washington State is a success story for closing the achievement gap. The district leaders tried to share their experiences with it in a book, Annual Growth, Catch-Up Growth. What's hidden in the backstory of this book is the resolve and commitment of the administration, the staff, and the community to closing the gap. A real commitment to closing the achievement gap is an essential part of the solution. Today, the achievement gap is measurable in all grades at Gateway. Closing the achievement gap does not have a single silver bullet solution. Equity in the school district is a major part of that solution. A 25-page report, an equity audit of the district policies and procedures prepared by Gretchen Givens, and I'm giving you this information so you can find that, because the board is asking questions, so if the board is interested in getting the answers to these questions, that's one of the places you should go. I believe this occurred in 2015-16 school year, just to give you a framework to look for it. This report explains that an equity audit of policies and procedures is a measure of school climate. and school climate is based on the patterns of school life experiences, reflects the norms, and I'm quoting this from the book. I didn't generate these big words myself. Values, interpersonal relationships, teaching, learning, and leadership practices and organizational structures. The school climate is what makes students feel socially, emotionally, and physically safe or insecure. In a district with a good climate, teachers and students are engaged and respected. Students, families, and educators have the capacity to work together to create a shared school vision and a productive learning environment. I tried to summarize this, and I couldn't do it. You can't take 25 pages of information and condense it down to anything that can be discussed here. And then, just as an addition, the Pittsburgh School District recently, April 2017, announced a 5-year plan. This plan has 4 themes: create a positive and supportive school climate. Well, guess what? That's your equity. Develop and implement a rigorous, aligned curriculum. That's another part of equity. If you read that report, equity is attendance, behavior, and the educational, the in-school classroom process. That's part of the things in equity. And there's a lot in there, 25 pages worth, and there's a lot of data there. Provide relevant and timely instructional support. That's part of your equity too. Foster a performance culture for the employees, and that's training the teachers. And I gave you the link, so you don't have to take my word for it. There's the link to the Pittsburgh School District schools. So in bottom line, Gateway needs to make a similar commitment to student success, starting with an equity director. Believe me, when you read through that, there's a lot of work there to monitor and support equity policies and procedures and instruction. Note the Gateway plan is very similar to that theme in the Pittsburgh school districts, and I think it's time for Gateway to fully commit to and invest in the achievement gap closure. I'd really like to see that happen. Thanks.
Thanks.
Anybody else wish to address the board at this time?
Good evening. Again, I don't come with data. I'm so glad that Mr. Elms has come with the information that you need to research.
And your name is?
My name is Buena Smith Dudley.
Thank you.
And you're a Monroeville resident, right?
Oh, I am.
Okay.
1205 Bowling Green Drive.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. I'm going to be, I don't need to belabor this. I'm so glad to hear Mr. Short say that everyone here is committed to stopping the achievement gap, bringing that gap, lessening it. Before I went into ministry, I spent 25 years in education. I've taught in Los Angeles schools, Miami schools, Fort Lauderdale schools, Jefferson County, which is the Columbine district, Pittsburgh schools, etc. I've seen this for years. I've seen how it happens. I started in Watts, California, where we didn't have books. And to give a child a dictionary they were almost in tears. But I also taught in the affluent schools of North Arvada, which was completely different. I taught in charter schools, which were really connected with the district, where there are 5 computers in every classroom. So why am I saying this? I'm saying this because it only worsens. We can't keep kicking around the issue. We've got to make sure that in September, it's in place. It's not going to be talked about, but that it's in place. Because it's not a situation that we can say, well, there's a gap and it's just going, no, it's going to widen when we don't address it and put something in place. So I'm asking you, and I think that we do need to address the questions that Mr. Ritter has. I think everybody needs to come to the table and have a say in that. And with my experience, I would love to at least be aware of what is going on and weigh in on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
My name is Jennifer Hayes. I'm a resident, a parent of 2 sons in the middle school, and a teacher at Evergreen Elementary, and part of this committee. I want my kids to benefit from this work. They only have 5 more years here, and I wish they would have had 7 years of this work. I would ask that you trust the committee and trust the research and trust the year that we spent working on this. I'm not sure the point of a committee if you bring the data that you researched and worked on only to form another committee. I'm not sure I understand that. But I'm willing to meet and work and answer questions and give you book titles and articles and all the ways in which I had to learn as a teacher, as a parent. I mean, I had a lot to learn. Because of the training that I benefited from that Dr. Zeddy brought in, I am now comfortable looking at my own bias, at my own occasional prejudicial thoughts. It's opened my mind as a mother, as a person, as a friend, and as a teacher. It's impacted my work with students, and it's because of the training that I received that I am able to confidently stand here on a televised program and say, yeah, there was a lot I needed to learn, and there's a lot more I need to learn. And if you haven't read any books about it, if you haven't read any articles about it, just like teachers, I mean, you need to educate yourselves. You need to know what we're talking about. You can't be expected to know everything about everything, certainly. My main goal is that we have a full-time equity director. If everything else was off the table, that would be my main hope, because we've got 4,000 students, over 500 staff members, thousands of parents, and a full-time equity director would at least be able to drive the train. He or she would be able to answer the questions that we have. They would probably have experience and a doctorate in this and be passionate about it and want it and believe that it's possible, and be able to guide us on where to go next. It's like, I just think it's like having a new medicine out there that we could buy, but not hiring the doctor to administer it. And it's an ongoing medicine. It's on to teachers, the nurses and doctors need to learn about this medicine. But not hiring a doctor to teach the people administering it. And finally, all of our administrators and board members are white, Caucasian, European American, whatever you're comfortable with. If all of our administrators and board members were African American, I believe we wouldn't have to fight so hard. Thank you.
Anybody else wish to address the board at this time?
May I add one more thing?
Sure.
I understand your discomfort. I understand that when you come to explore something for the first time, it leaves you with more questions than answers. When you have a child who's ill, you may have a lot more questions than answers, so you take them to someone who can give them those answers. Someone who has spent their time and energy and education and money to learn about their craft, their experience, and then you trust them to make a decision. I understand your discomfort because you don't have the answers. I just want to share with you that I started to research this in 2003 in a master's program with Gannon. I was encouraged by a then superintendent to look up and think about what No Child Left Behind was and how it impacted our students. I'm a second grade teacher. My students are not tested in second grade. But I knew this was something that I needed to know as a teacher in your and our great district. And if it's going to continue to be great, we have to be able to trust that when people come forward with information that they have researched, and I do mean for years, and maybe this is a bit personal for me, that they have some answers that maybe you don't know and don't trust and aren't comfortable with, but that maybe you should trust it because you don't know the background, the interest. You don't have the answers that you need to know, and you're not going to get them in another committee. You're not going to get them overnight. You're not going to get them in another year. I've spent 14 years on this now. And every question led me to learn more. I didn't go get my doctorate because I wanted to have a doctorate. I went to get my doctorate to answer this question. How can we, Gateway School District, better meet the needs of our African American and minority students? Find someone who's invested, who's been there, who's spent the time, who's the experience that you would take your child to should they have to need surgery and something specific. Take the time to go to someone who has the information. Don't feel discomfort. Don't allow that discomfort to keep you from making the decision that would save a child's life. Don't allow yourself to be discomforted to the point where we're in inaction. It's my only request. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else wish to address the school board at this time? No? Okay. Moving on. Let's start with.
Before you do comments, can I ask
Hold on.
a question about this?
That's going to be
Are
my
you-
report.
Okay, thank you, never mind. Continue.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. An opportunity to swing by the musical on Friday night.
Hi there.
Swing by. Saw each other there. You were there. So, Mr. Studenberg. You did a fabulous job. As always, Mr. Helchi and the cast, I want to acknowledge their hard work, effort in ensuring that, their talents are just on stage and incredible to see. So my hat goes off to them. Also, we were wrapping up our PSSAs and moving on to the Keystone exams, which have been delivered. I want to thank the students for their attention, participation. I know it's a grueling time of the year. We all have our personal opinions on mandated state assessments. Unfortunately, we're governed by Pennsylvania and sometimes national law. It's always changing and could change very soon with the ESSA and ultimately the president and what he determines to be fit for our public education and public schools. So stay tuned. Also, it was National Teacher Day today, and I wanted to acknowledge the work of all of our instructors because if you haven't sat behind that chair, or I should say stand within that classroom, when you have probably 20, 25, 27 eyes, times that by 2, looking at you every day, the preparation that goes into it, the hard work, the passion of our teachers is second to none. And I've maintained that throughout my time here at Gateway. It is truly what makes Gateway special. It is our educators. So my hat goes off to their hard work and dedication to our students. Also, I forgot to mention, the accolades that we started off tonight's show with U.S. News World Report and the Pittsburgh Business Times rankings. It's interesting as we analyze the data within the Pittsburgh Business Times that we outperformed as a high school. And let me read some of these high schools just to give the public an idea of how well we are doing. The Bethel Park High School School District, North Hills, Hempfield, Penn Trafford, West Allegheny, Thomas Jefferson, Seneca Valley, and Plumboro, far outperforming those school districts. So my hat goes off to the hard work and dedication of the students and teachers. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Short. Mr. Chakey, do you have anything to say?
Nothing this time.
Mr. Rossi?
Couple quick things. I just want to acknowledge Mrs. Mattis for writing and submitting a grant. My side has been selected to receive a 3D printing package through General Electric's education programs. We just received that information yesterday, so more information will be forthcoming for board acceptance. Just a reminder that kindergarten registration is ongoing, and we have a lot of events planned for our incoming kindergarten students in May. So we have some fun nights and screenings. So it's imperative if you haven't registered, please check the district website for that information. And we have a tentative date for our curriculum night, which is May 25th at 6 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Shutt.
Just one item this evening, just as a reminder, the next scheduled Budget and Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for Thursday, May 18th at 6 PM in the high school LGI. Thank you.
As indicated earlier, we are in desperate need of substitutes, so if you know anyone out there, please contact us. Sorry.
Anybody want to sub? Former
Substitute
educators?
teachers, paraprofessionals, custodians, come see me.
Thank you. Mr. Dice, do you have anything for us tonight?
Just something real brief. I ordinarily don't say much, but I want you to know that this ranking, these statistics, we should be putting this out, all the real estate companies, all the advertising we can get with it, put it on our website. We should be doing everything we can with this because I'm involved with other school districts and I know what goes on. This is far more superior than anything else I've seen. And everybody's given lots of accolades to the staff, and they certainly deserve it. Mr. Short deserves it, and I just want to tip my hat to him. I think there's been a real turnaround, and you see that with some of those statistics in these last couple of years. I don't know how we get much better. That's the problem I'm having. Yeah, there's room to move. But boy, when you get up in this kind of classification, it's tough to move. We jumped, what was it, 41 to 19. And that's in, what, 2 years? No, longer than that, 6 years. That's a big, big jump. And I don't see that in any other district. So, again, I think the hat goes off to the superintendent. That's all.
Thank you. I don't take credit to those people who.
I understand.
I'm a very
You should.
humble person.
I'm going to give it to you.
But it would be nice if perhaps someone from the Pittsburgh Trib Live would write an article about this. I'm
Not just
Post
one
Gazette,
article.
too, would be
A couple
good.
articles.
And Post Gazette as well, because I think we're deserving of some good news.
Mr. Ritter, I think we'll start with you, Steve.
All right. I don't like to talk about myself, but I just want to respond. I missed breakfast, I missed lunch, I missed supper, just got off the bus, being dropped off by the track team, coming back from the boys' whippeal at Hempfield. So my face is bright red because I've been in the sun all day. I haven't had anything to drink yet. I'm cranky, I'm tired, I'm hungry. I say all that to say, this is the type of board member. I'm one of the type of board members and superintendents and financial people and solicitors that we've got doing our level best to try to find ways, make ways for the community to succeed on behalf of the kids. Some of it's seen, some of it's unseen. If I didn't tell you that I missed breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you wouldn't know. So I'm just telling you. You're not seeing everything. You don't see all the work that I put into all this yet, but I hope it pays off. I also serve as a secretary for a local committee here. You don't see the work I'm doing there. And I try to be as dispassionate as I can to move forward, whether I like what I come up with or I don't like it. The goal is to set it before folks, have it be voted on, and then run with it. So there's no delay. Things just take time. You can't put two people on a pregnant woman's birth and get it done in half the time. Some things just take time. It takes 9 months to give birth. So if this is the right way to go, and it takes this long, that's fine. You know, so I am doing the level best I can. I know a lot of the team members here are doing it as well. So please have patience with us. And as someone said, we don't have all the answers, you know, so we're fighting for those. With all that, we got this wonderful report, so thank you, Mr. Dice, for holding this up. That's a wonderful thing. It's nice for the board members to see some wonderful things are happening here, so I would say that's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Ritter. Mr. O'Donnell?
You know, I've been on this board for, I guess, a year and a half now, and prior to that, I've spoken frequently to board members and administrators about changing the culture at Gateway. And part of that, and actually key to that, has always been to push the standard for academic excellence higher and higher and higher for all children. That's why I volunteered to take on the GAP committee. That's why I put the time and effort into it that I have, as has Mary Beth and Scott and Stephanie, because we are committed to a change in culture which speaks to academic rigor and academic excellence for all kids. And this is a statement that is starting to happen, and I think it's a statement that reflects well on all of our teachers and paraprofessionals in this district. It speaks to the management of this district, and I think it speaks to board leadership of this district as well, because this is a board that decided not too long ago to increase the amount of money that we were spending and bring on two excellent individuals to substantially increase our ability to intervene academically with Dr. Chakey and Guy Rossi. These are important decisions that the board has made, and this is a reflection of that. Equally, not equally important, but also important, is I'm on the Buildings and Grounds Committee with Valerie and George, and the three of us, along with Bob Brown, Bill, put a lot of time into the programs that fall under our auspice, and I want to just report on it. Did everybody get a copy of this? No. I'll make sure everybody gets a copy before you leave, okay? This is the capital project tracker. So we have 16 areas that we track on a regular basis. The roof replacement that we've already approved, the air conditioning in the all-purpose rooms at at Cleveland, UP and Evergreen. They will be out to bid early this month. The switching gear has already been bid, came in under budget. That will start on June 8th. The HVAC systems that we bid came in much higher than we expected. So Bob Brown, is he still here? To his credit, him and his team, Bob and his team went back, worked with Train, worked with Paul Schott, got in touch with the CoStar people. If there are additional questions, I think Bob can handle that. We worked that number down by several $100,000 to $538,384. Now, that's still $213,000 over the budgeted item for that particular issue. The retro commissioning work has already been allocated to Wayne Cruz, am I right?
Wayne Kraus.
Kraus, excuse me. That's an $85 per hour item. I think we have roughly $284,000 in parts, $136 in labor. Paul Schott and Bob will be monitoring that as it starts and moves out. The interior lighting will be bid the first of this month as well. Just for the public's information, that's almost 7,000 units that we'll be bidding across the district, with the exception, of course, of the middle school and the junior high, because those schools are on for discussion by the board at some other time. That bid will be out and should be opened on or about 5:30. Those are public openings. The exterior lighting, has anybody noticed a difference in some of the parking lots? They've already been put up. It's made just a tremendous district improvement. And Bob and his crew have been putting those up. That came in under budget, a little over $18,000. The water conservation component is going out to bid on this month. The domestic water item is $1,000 under bid. The envelope work, the auxiliary gym, et cetera, is $7,000 under bid. Water conservation, lighting conservation, we ended up not needing those because we utilized the expertise of the people that provide the products, so we saved $48,000 there. The architectural bid was out, and it came in $9,000 under bid. So the last two items, which would be the HVAC controls, that's a large item, has not yet been put out to bid, and the restroom remodels, and I believe there's 13 of them in the high school. Now, component parts of those have been identified and estimates of the cost of those component parts like mirrors and things of that sort, Bob and his staff have been gathering. Again, I think we're on target. Right now, we stand at about $148,000 under budget. Don't spend it because, we have other big items that we still have to bid. But I want to thank Valerie and George. They come to meetings regularly. Bob Brown and his staff do a good job. I think it's going along well. I think we'll bring the project in at the estimated $3.8 million. Just a few other real quick notes. Painting is going on over at Evergreen. We hydro-seeded those areas over there that we cleared. The painting of the fence at Evergreen will start once the weather gets a little bit warmer. The air conditioning units have been installed at Evergreen. Got lots of nice comments from teachers about that when I went over there the other day. Apparently it's working pretty well. They've all been installed at University Park. I think it's working well there, and pleased because that creates a much better work environment for both teachers, paraprofessionals, and the students. We are out for quotes on the things approved by the board for glass repair, window cleaning, landscaping, and ball field startup and daily prep. Those quotes we hope to have mid-month, and then they'll be put on for action once they come in by the board. That's the short version. It's going along well. I think it will continue to. Again, thanks for you guys, and thanks for Bob and his team. Thank you. That's all.
Yeah, I have two things. The first one is regarding the budget meeting. Last week, we were going over staffing projections, and during that meeting, there were concerns raised over class size at Gateway Middle, in particular science. So what I have here is the class sizes at Gateway Middle School, in particular the science classes, that I just wanted to share because I think there were some false assumptions, and I do have the facts here. So at Gateway Middle School, there are 29 science classes. One of them has 6 students. One of them has 13 students. 2 of them have 14 students. 2 have 15. 2 have 20. 4 have 21. 2 classrooms have 23 students. 2 have 25 students. 1 classroom has 26. 3 classes have 29. Now, that one, the 29, one of those has 2 teachers in it because it's a STEAM class. So from talking to Mr. Telly and Mr. Short, there are 2 teachers in 4 of the STEAM classes. They're actually co-taught. We have 1 science class that's an honors class that has 32. And then I did make a phone call to the principal, Mr. Telly, and he said the average class size at Gateway Middle School is 24 to 25 students. He felt that that was very acceptable. I, in particular, asked him about the honors science class. Again, he felt that that was an acceptable level because the students in that class are very diligent and there weren't any behavioral issues. He said there was 1 9-week special class that had 29 students, but it's only 9 weeks. And again, he mentioned that the STEAM classes actually had 2 teachers and were co-taught. So he was very comfortable with the numbers. Some of the numbers I read, you can see, I think are on the low side, which is why there were some staffing changes. Classes with 6, 13, 14, 15 kids, I think is a little low, honestly. So I just wanted to...
about the size 6 class, because that's a special ed class.
Okay, well, I have the numbers of the classes.
Well, I know, and I know what the
Let's
class
not
is.
interrupt while the reports are going on.
Well, because I feel like it's, I'm being
Okay, well, you
attacked.
can feel that way, and I appreciate that, but when the reports are going on...
Actually, the
we
comment
can't do
wasn't
that.
directed at you, actually. You weren't the one that made the comment.
I believe it was.
So anyway, I'm done with that. So the next issue I wanted to address was, back in March, I had reached out with conversations with the board to some various PR firms. Mr. Dice mentioned, this good news report and how that should be out in the media, and there's been a lot of conversations between the board this year and some of the public. We've had some meetings with some people who really, feel that Gateway needs to do a better job at promoting our district in some positive ways. So I just wanted to let everybody know that that is being worked on. I think we'll probably have a solution within the next month, I hope. I had reached out to 8 advertising and public relations firms. What I'm finding is that the really big ones don't work with schools, or they're not cost effective. So right now, we have 1 proposal in, and I'm waiting to hear from 2 more companies, and then the board will get everything at once, and we'll try to make a decision on whether we want to, hire a PR firm on a part-time basis to do some positive marketing for the district. So I have, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lapsovich.
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Mr. Nola.
All I have is I'm looking forward to the GAP and the administration bringing something to us. Hopefully, I honestly would love to have it so that we can make some type of vote by the next meeting, but I would love it to be right. That's what I want it to be right, and I want it done as soon as possible after that, so.
Alrighty. Got a few. I guess we'll start with members from food service. I see there's still several here. Thank you again for showing up, voicing your concerns, and I think encouraging the board to use a common sense initiative presented by Martin. To meet the candidates, hopefully they're able to find another venue, since the place of academics will not hold it. Hopefully they will be able to find a place that is open to that, because I believe that is very, very good for the public. I want to say thank you to Mr. Coulter, who sent everyone on the board an email, and I believe it was probably 6 to 8 months ago. He and I originally discussed the transparency resolution that we'll call it. So thank you for reaching out. We had a good conversation, and I think it's definitely needed. We talk about changing the culture. I think some things on the board need to change as well, transparency being one of them. The musical you brought up, we'll go back to good things. The musical was phenomenal, as always. If you've never seen a Gateway musical, you have to go next year. The sets are amazing. They have people that their kids had graduated literally 8 years ago still coming back and helping on these sets. The grand staircase was as big as a house up on the stage. It was phenomenal. So to see the kids do a good job, I was kind of mad though, because I think they did better than we did in 2007 when we put on Cinderella. So I'll give it to them. The kids did a phenomenal job.
They did.
And the fiscal side of me will say, they did all of that without receiving a penny from the district. So that just shows, when groups are, put it behind them that, hey, they want to do something, and they advertise and they raise money, they're able to do it. And I've always been impressed. I was in the musicals myself, so I'm obviously biased to that, but they do an amazing job, impressive job with raising money. Their pamphlet is something you'd see when you go to Broadway. So good job to everyone involved, and I know the parents put a lot of time and effort into that as well, so thank you to all of them as well. Procedurally, I won't dwell on the negatives too long, but procedurally, I am upset with the way the board has been operating over the last year. Adding in resolutions for $60,000+ in board members, reports as opposed to resolutions, not giving information to board members in advance, actually holding votes on contracts that are fugazi, they're just floating out there. We've never seen them when we vote, and we're voting on them. Voting on things, even you had mentioned the air conditioners, and I'm sure anyone who's in a classroom that has an air conditioner probably is much more comfortable, and I would agree with that. It's just that it should have been brought up, especially something in the winter involving an air conditioner. It could have been brought up at a study session, voted on at a regular board meeting. So procedurally, I hope that the transparency resolution will pass, and hopefully that will straighten out some of those issues. But the other procedural issues, I just want to touch on, and I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to say anything, but I just hope we learn. We've tabled and untabled and tabled and untabled more things in the past 3 months than I think any other board has ever done, ever.
I will agree with that.
We have
Everybody needs a hobby.
We have confused the public about what the heck we're even voting on under some circumstances. The whole call to question, it has a time, it has a place, but not 30 seconds after discussion starts. To call something to question, and then to have five members vote on that, if there's one they should abstain on, probably be that one, but, to have 5 board members then vote to call to question with no discussion, it's laughable. It really is. I mean, we're up here as elected officials representing the constituents. Let them hear the questions. I mean, we've only gotten this information an hour ago. Let people talk, let people digest it, allow the public to know what the heck is going on. Okay. Another negative one, I guess. A little upset that we had board members today, in my opinion, I to each their own, but failed to represent their constituents. I'll just leave it at that. I wish that had occurred differently, because I believe we've given Gateway a black eye by not allowing a place paid for by the tax payers to hold an event that we all said is a good event. So that's upsetting that we allowed that to get in the way of that. The achievement gap. I've talked a lot about this, so I'll keep it short. My opinions are actually quite different than some members of the Achievement Gap Committee. Right? Some people believe that this is a magic pill. Some people believe that this is just a solve all. I don't believe that to be the case. I believe that there is data that suggests it does work extremely well at certain places. It works less effectively at other places. But unless we try that, we don't know what works. And to do nothing is just simply negligent. We've known about this problem. It's been documented since the 50s. We've kicked this can down the road, and now we're saying, okay, well, maybe we're going to do something differently. Someone had stated, as we were discussing, hey, Chad, why are we trying to rush this? We're not trying to rush this. We want to have discussion. I think all those questions in that binder should have been answered this evening. We've literally spent hours discussing other things, minute things that have nothing to do with this district. But something about education, something about actually progressing the district. Like, the scores are awesome. Those are great. And imagine if we could get the bottom half to go up 20%. That makes a whole hell of a bigger difference than bringing up your kids that get a 99% to a 99.5%. So I recommend that if administration wants to bring forward a recommendation, that's awesome, but let's have these conversations before the next meeting. We need to move on something. If we don't move on it within the next 2 weeks to 4 weeks, it will not be done in time for the next school year. So it might not be the right solution. I'm not sitting here, some people are claiming this is the best thing ever. But what I am claiming is I've talked to one of my friends who was a kindergarten teacher. And I'll just give one example. I've given this to Mary Beth before, about the culturally responsive teaching. And I'm not an educator, so I don't know how this works, and is it good, is it bad? We've had people up here say it's good, it's bad, it's this, it's that. So she's a white teacher, and she's teaching kindergarten, and something so little as changing the books that are read in the classroom. Right? So she had a student that was acting out in class, and she just thought, oh, he's just a bad kid, right? So they go through the culturally responsive teaching, and one little thing that they picked up for a kindergartner was all of your books in your classroom are all white students. So she figured, well, what the hell? It's going to cost a few bucks. We'll buy a few books. Let's put it into action and see what happens. So she bought books with African American families in it. She bought books with single mother families in it. She bought books with other ethnicity families in them. And the kids were engaged because they could see themselves, they could relate to it. And what once she thought was a behavioral problem, she could view now as, oh, I just wasn't reaching out to them. I wasn't doing what I could have done fully to engage that student. So that's one little example in a kindergarten classroom. So imagine, and again, I've never received that training, so I don't know even what all is discussed. I've met with April for hours on hours, and we've gone over some things, and little bits I can digest and understand. But if we can do something that can help those kids, whether it be a kindergartner or whether it be a graduating senior, to help them progress, I believe we need to. And if it doesn't work and we evaluate in 3 years, okay. I'm in sales, right? Another no is just one more step closer to the solution or to a yes. So I think we need to do something. We cannot continue to kick the can down the road. As for the rankings, they are good. They're very good. I think Gateway will continue to move up. I hope that we continue to press on. We're better than those, which are awesome. But let's keep pushing forward. And I think everyone here has the same goals. We obviously have different solutions to this goal. So we might argue and we might fight, and I might go on a 20-minute tirade about an item, but we are moving forward. I do appreciate all the teachers, all the administrators, all the school board members, even those that we disagree a lot, for the time and effort that you put in. And I just hope that we're willing to look and discuss education, even though it's a lengthy discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davenport. Ms. Warren?
John, I have a candy bar. We'll just tide you over.
Could you pass the candy bar around?
You're my
please?
favorite board member.
I didn't bring the candy tonight. There was no executive session. But anyhow, on that,
That was mine, John.
no, it wasn't. I gave you
Put it
yours.
up.
I'm just.
It's not getting to you, John, the
Sunday,
whole state.
we were invited, the board was invited to join in with the ministerium. They were having a Unify Monroeville. And myself, Mr. Stubenport, Mr. Ritter attended that. It was an eye-opener. I didn't know what to expect, learned an awful lot. They are together to unify Monroeville. It's one of the most diverse municipalities in the state of Pennsylvania. Common goal is to bring living and working together in our thriving community, which Minister Dudley was there, talked, and I hope that we continue to build that, between the community and the school district. Yes.
May I just say thank you?
Thank you.
I wanted to thank everyone who came, and I heard from Mr. Short and others. Thank you for your support. It was a beautiful event. Diversity was everywhere, but what was beautiful was that diversity came together and sat at tables and sang together, and it was just wonderful.
Yes.
So I think that all of you all will appreciate just what we were going after and the fact that it is happening in Monroe.
True. Thank you again. Teacher Appreciation Week. Thank you to all our teachers. We just don't appreciate you this week, every day that you're in school with our students. Thank you for being there. Thank you for helping our students get through and to make the most of them. We do appreciate you. Friday, I give you my rundown here. Friday, it's the prom at the high school. Students, enjoy yourself. Have a great time, but please be safe. Be careful. Just be yourself. It's a beautiful day, beautiful night for their parents to see their daughters go off in the gowns and their sons in their tuxes. Make them proud the whole night. We're thinking of you. Tuesday, the 9th, is the high school band concert. And Monday, the 15th, is also the choir concert at the high school. I'm hoping maybe possibly that we can look at our calendar with the board meetings, that they don't conflict. We have a lot of conflicts that we are not able to make to these events that these students prepare for, that maybe we can look into that maybe next year, because there's a lot that we can't attend. May 16th, don't forget, it's Election Day. Very important day. Get out there and vote. If not, you still have time to get your absentee ballots.
No school.
No school. I was getting to that.
In-service day for teachers.
Yes, in school. No, May 16th. Kennywood Day is May 20th, coming up. Friday, I believe, is ticket sales in the schools. Parents, make sure we send our money in there. May 4th at the middle school, they are having their spring concert. And Friday, the 19th, is their 8th grade dinner dance. That's the step going into the prom. So parents can prepare for that. Project ACES is coming up. Hopefully, we can get some of the school board members there. It's at 2 o'clock, I know. It's where all students, all children exercise simultaneously. ACE is what it stands for. It's a great event. It's May 25th. UP is having on May 12th a mother and son picnic. It's a Friday. They're having it in the playground. Hats off to Ms. Hoffner, to the PTO for putting together these events. They are trying to bring the families together, doing things together as a family. And this is just one of the small things that they are doing. The boys are invited to bring a special lady in their life to this. So I look forward to it. I mean, I was there for the dance. Well, I shouldn't say I was there, but I saw pictures from the sweetheart dance that they had with the fathers and the daughters, and just a such a neat thing to watch them such a young age. They were so proud of their daughters. Their daughters were so proud of their male, pardon me?
Padres.
Okay, but they were just so excited, you know, to do this, so it's really a good thing. In between the raindrops, we have had our baseball games, both at the high school and the junior high, lacrosse, the track, boys and girls, tennis, and softball. And volleyball, they haven't yet had to cancel, but everybody's been doing their thing. Tonight, Gateway's baseball beat Albert Gallatin, I think, 6-0, and Chris Dick had a no-hitter. Laura Hollins, okay, well, Chris had a no-hitter, so congratulations. They are making everything up with that. May 7th at 10 o'clock, they did a filming here of teen dating violence, and it will be aired on Investigation Discovery Channel. It's regarding the Demi Kusha that we had here at Gateway. It's a cable channel that I believe if you have Dish, satellite, Infinity, that you'll be able to pick up. But I'm hoping students, everyone can watch that.
When is that, Bill?
May 7th.
May 7th, 10 o'clock.
Yeah, Sunday.
And with that, I just have one other thing, two other things. Mr. Colarusso was here the other evening asking us to support the hockey team. I gave the board members just a list of expenses that they have occurred. Mr. Avesti and I have talked about it. We haven't really come up with a figure. I'm going to propose this at the next meeting, at the budget meeting. I'm going to see if Mr. Schott with athletics or something. I would like to propose covering the transportation for these students back and forth to the hockey games. Students have been driving themselves for safety issues. I think this is a good thing that we are at least making sure the kids are getting there safe. So if anybody has questions, we can talk about that.
Can I say thank you for that?
Pardon me?
Can I say thank you for that? Our hockey board just met tonight because we're trying to figure out if we're going to have to co-op or if we're going to have a true team. So we are in the works with that. So I just wanted to keep you updated.
Okay, thank you. But like I said, we want to make sure the kids are safe. So this is a way that we can do it. Hopefully that, you know, we have the support here on the board for that. And just one other thing. Things are tight. I know it's tough. Different meetings. We're having a lot of meetings. People aren't happy with everything we're doing. We're teaching our students to try to be respectful to our adults. When we have adults that are not respectful to adults, it's hard to say, okay, kids, let's follow in the steps of these adults. With that, I don't want to say any more, but that's it, Mr. Williams. Thank you.
Thank you. Student report.
Good. Just one more thing I forgot to mention. Some of you will remember Jeff Reed. He played baseball here at Gateway. He passed unexpectedly a year, going on 2 years ago now, and they're holding a memorial golf outing. So I was asked by several Gateway alumni who are holding this event to get the word out there. It's Saturday, June 17th at Manor Valley Golf Course. If anyone would like any information, I have the flyer. I can email it out to you. Just email me and I can give you information. And then just for point of verification, Election Day is when our next board meeting was scheduled. So for the public's knowledge, could we know when the next board meeting is and the next budget meeting?
The next regular scheduled board meeting would be May 23rd. That's a Tuesday. Several months ago, we did put that in a board resolution to change the date, which was initially scheduled from the 16th. We have 4 schools that are involved with the polling for the election. So May 23rd, next regular scheduled board meeting. Budget meeting, May 18th.
Thursday, May 18th.
18th. Thank you.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Scotty.
Mr. Ritter?
Yeah, just one final thing, Scotty. If anybody in the listening audience knows of a venue, you've got a venue that we could use for this Meet the Candidates night, please get in touch with Scott, okay?
I think they have Plan B.
He'll pass it on to the right people, because I don't know who those are. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Ritter. Not to be redundant or anything, but hats off to our teachers and administration. They've been doing a great job and working at this for a number of years now. It's nice to see these results and be honored. And also, thank you everybody for coming tonight. Thank you for your input. Thank my board here. As you can see, there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of them doing certain things that they specialize in, if you want to say, or have a heart for it, and bring it back to us and feed it to us. And we might not always agree at the first time and argue a little bit, but I can say about this board is when we're done meeting and we leave this room, we can all still be friends. And that's the biggest point. And with that, I'll look for a motion to, I should congratulate Christopher Dick for his no-hitter tonight.
Motion to adjourn.
I just want to get that out there.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same
Aye.
sign. Or adjourned.
I just want to make sure this was the class that I was talking about.